It was the first day of practice for Texas Tech men's basketball. Grant McCasland took the podium to address questions from the local media, and Texas Tech men's basketball released their Big 12 conference slate for the 2025 and 2026 season. In today's video, we'll discuss both, including who are some standouts for the Red Raiders so far, as well as, hey, it's the CA and JT show out in the 806. Oh, we are so back. It's Texas Tech men's basketball season. I get it. We're still a little ways away, but that first practice is here. We're going to start seeing some videos of these guys practicing, and, well, early November can't get here soon enough. If you're excited about Texas Tech men's basketball just like I am, be sure to like the video because this is going to be an historic season for the boys out in the 806. I am really excited about this one. I have got a notebook full of notes from Grant McCasland's presser we'll discuss. But before we do that, let's go ahead and jump into the Big 12 slate for the Red Raiders in 2025-2026. You can see it right there. JT Toppin getting us all hyped, as he should. Reigning Big 12 Player of the Year, I might add. Let's go ahead and look at that schedule, shall we? There it is on your screen. I told you it was the JT and CA show. There you go right there. You start out the new year against Oklahoma State. RIP to the Cowboys on the gridiron. That's a tough scene. But on the basketball court, maybe they'll be a little bit better. Probably not, but we shall see. Then you go on the road to Houston. Remember last year you went down there and you beat them without JT Toppin because of that absolute you-know-what call by the Big 12 refs. But no big deal. Texas Tech still beat the team that played the national title on their home floor. Then you play at Colorado, Utah, and BYU. Then head out to the 806. You head on out to Waco. Then you play Houston at home. You head to Orlando. Then you play on Big Monday. It's a pretty big turn right there, and I'm very interested to see how Texas Tech responds as they will be playing, well, in Orlando, and then not even 48 hours later playing Kansas at home. That is one to watch for sure. West Virginia is on the docket out in Morgantown. You've got Colorado at home, Arizona, and Arizona State on the road back-to-back. And then you've got Kansas State, Cincinnati at home with Iowa State up in Ames, TCU out in the 806. And you finish Big 12 play out in Provo against the BYU Cougars. And truthfully, that BYU Cougar matchup could have some severe Big 12 title implications. I mean, AJ DeBance is out there. They flooded a lot of money into that basketball program, just like Texas Tech did. That could be a Big 12 title game, right, at the end of the year. So it's going to be very interesting to watch. But, again, that is the Big 12 slate for the Red Raiders in 2025-2026. In today's video, I really wanted to discuss what Grant McCasland said at his really season opening presser. I mean, again, as I mentioned, at the time of this recording, it is Tuesday, September 23rd. First day of practice was this Tuesday, right? You may be listening to it a little further into the future, but Texas Tech, they have a lot of people returning in terms of high-quality level players, most notably JT Toppin and Christian Anderson, but they went out and they added a plethora of playmakers that they felt suited what those two guys needed in terms of JT Toppin and Christian Anderson to succeed. Let's go ahead and get to some of the big points that Grant McCasland had in this opening presser. Let's go ahead and start with the health side of it. He did not get into specifics in terms of certain players. He did say, however, that he expects as of right now, again, September 23rd, to have everybody available to play in game number 1 of non-con play out in the 806 in early November. So, again, didn't go into specific player injuries, said some guys were nursing some things, didn't get into specifics, as I have said 3 times now. But the hope is that the entire roster will be ready to go from the opening jump. Newcomers that have advanced in his time, well, coaching them out in the 806 in his opinion, right? You got Josiah Mosley. He has made big strides. That's a Villanova transfer, a guy from Texas originally, went to go play in the Big East, really didn't play much for the Wildcats up in Philly. Now is back in the Lone Star State, and I think he's a guy that's going to be a key cog in the Texas Tech rotation this year. And we'll kind of really talk about the front court and the back court and everything like that. Josiah Mosley is a very interesting Swiss Army knife type player, and it's good to hear that he's progressing. 2 guys that he talked about multiple times, and let's talk about them in depth here, was Nolan Groves and Jalen Petty. Nolan Groves, the Minnesota high school Gatorade men's basketball player of the year. Petty was the same up in the state of Washington. They have been good. Grant McCasland said both will play. It's just a matter of how much. Now, both can guard and score. Petty has a high ceiling, and Grant McCasland actually went on to say about Jalen Petty, Petty could have a similar impact to Christian Anderson as a freshman. Both could be in the rotation. It depends on how much. I will tell you this right now. This is me talking, not Grant McCasland. People, y'all are going to want to remember the name Jalen Petty. If this man was maybe 2 inches taller, he would be in the running to be the number 1 overall player, in my opinion, in a class, okay? He's on the shorter side, but damn it, he's athletic as hell. He can guard. He can score. He's a willing passer. He understands angles, and most importantly of all, he's willing to do whatever it takes to win. Jalen Petty is the name to know in terms of the underclassmen not named Christian Anderson on this roster. I think he's going to be a bona fide superstar for the Red Raiders as a true freshman. All right, we move on to the roster improvements, and obviously Nolan Groves, Jalen Petty, we already mentioned Josiah Mosley. Lawan Watts was a big one as well, and McCasland talked about how Lawan Watts just wants to be great. Whatever he's asked to do, what will help the team win, he's going to do it, right? And a lot of people, including myself, thinks he fits seamlessly into that role that D5 left after going through the NBA draft process, and now he's out in Raleigh playing for Coach Will Wade at North Carolina State, I should say. Lawan Watts is a more athletic version than D5, in my opinion, right? D5 has similar traits to Lawan Watts, and Lawan Watts is a guy that can do similar things to D5, but from an athletic standpoint, he is a guy that Texas Tech targeted for that specific role because they need guys with feel and will to win. It fits Lawan Watts perfectly. He obviously is a space guy as well, a really good shooter in limited shot opportunities, but he is a guy that Grant McCasland gave a ton of praise to in this press conference, talking about his will to win and just how hard he works. Now, carrying that over to the roster improvement, I've already mentioned they wanted to get guys with feel and a will to win. What does feel mean? Specifically to their position, right? They're willing to guard. They understand the nuances of basketball at their respective positions. They also understand what their teammates need to do to succeed as well. A perfect example was Luke Bamboye, how Grant McCasland said he's got a feel above the rim, right? And Texas Tech needed to add that after Fetty transferred down to that school down south with that ugly, ugly maroon. I digress, though, okay? Bamboye can also shoot a little bit as well. So some people are going to be surprised by that. But they also focused on, speaking of shooting, spacing. And that was something that Texas Tech just didn't have a lot of last year at a consistency, in the sense of they had some shooters, but spacing kind of got bunched. And some of that was due to JT Toppin, and JT Toppin has improved on that front as well in terms of being comfortable with the ball in his hands and being a facilitator at the top of the key and making sure that the defense collapses on him. He's a willing passer, as you know. He's going to find the open man 9 times out of 10, right? So they wanted to focus on that, and they wanted to focus on players that fit the skill sets really just to a glove type aspect around JT and CA. 2 guys that, in my opinion, that's the best duo in the Big 12, okay? CA and JT Toppin are first-team Big 12 players, and JT Toppin should be the preseason Big 12 Player of the Year and a first-team All-American in the preseason. Christian Anderson likely won't get preseason All-American honors, but he should be in the running for it. He's that kind of player, right? So they focused on getting guys that create space for JT Toppin and Christian Anderson. And if you have paid attention to the channel here, you know a lot about this roster. That's no surprise. They went out and added a plethora of shooters, most notably Tyree Bryant from Santa Clara, and then Donovan Atwell as well. Now, another big talking point in this one was CA, okay? Grant McCasland brought up the fact that he played for FIBA, and we all saw him play out in, Eurobasket, where he stole the ball from Luka and had that monster jam, right? Like, his physicality can not go unnoticed. Much like JT Toppin, he has gained some serious weight. He is a physical player, and I think we all knew that. But again, at the same time, he was 18 years old last year. But he is a legit 6'3". He is not a small guard, people. He is legit 6'3", and he is a guy that, if you're a part of Red Raider Nation, you know this. CA is a damn dog, okay? He's a guy that whatever needs to happen to win, he's going to make it happen, okay? And he's your lead guard now, alongside the likes of a guy like Jalen Petty or Tyree Bryant, Donovan Atwell, whoever you put in the backcourt with them. you know it's coming down in terms of what Texas Tech wants to do ideally, which is pick and roll basketball with Christian Anderson and JT Toppin. Those are the focal points. They both put on some weight, and they're going to need it in a physical league like the Big 12. Before we get into the non-con aspect of things for Grant McCasland, I do want to talk about Latrell Hoover. We had a commitment video here on the channel talking about him, and there wasn't a lot of information about him, to be honest with you, but Grant McCasland talked about him in this presser, saying that he's a guy that started playing basketball in 10th grade. So really about 3 years ago, okay? But he has been surprised at how huge he is. He has a legit 7+ wingspan. He is 6'10", 6'11", with massive hands. He has great instincts, has been a standout early on. They have been throwing him into difficult situations, Grant McCasland has said at practice, and he's thrived so far. Obviously, there's been some, bad probably plays that he's had because he's, a freshman and he hasn't played much basketball. But according to Grant McCasland, he stood out, and they think he's a guy that can really project forward. He may not play this year because they want to honor him in terms of his red shirt and do what's best for him long term. But damn it, he's going to get plenty of run when it comes to practice and playing against arguably the best big in college basketball in JT Toppin day in and day out at the Womble basketball facility there. And he's a guy that Grant McCasland, his words, he could be special. Project big, but again, something to monitor there. All right, before we head out of here, the non-con. Grant McCasland talked about that a little bit as well, talking about how playing in DFW was a big deal. Okay, you play in DFW twice if you're Texas Tech, obviously one time at Dickies Arena against the LSU Tigers of the SEC, and then you're going to play at the American Airlines Center in downtown Dallas, Victory Park area against, a team that you played pretty recently in March in John Calipari's fighting Arkansas Razorbacks. So that was a big deal. They also talked about, playing Illinois on the road. That was something they wanted, and there's contracts there that they're working out to hopefully, get more home and homes. But Illinois is on the docket where the Red Raiders will go to Champaign this year to play the Fighting Illini, and then the Fighting Illini will come to the 806 next year. At least that's what Grant McCasland made it sound like. But it was a priority to really ramp up the non-con in the sense that there's no longer 20 games in the Big 12. It is 18. It's back to the 18 schedule. And they wanted to make sure that they made up for those 2 Big 12 opportunities from a resume standpoint in the non-con. And whether that's the Arkansas game, Illinois game, it doesn't really matter. Even Duke, obviously, I should have mentioned that one earlier, up at Madison Square Garden, it doesn't really matter. And then you've also got the opportunity to potentially play Purdue in a, preseason tournament. So there's a lot of opportunities at high-quality wins throughout this schedule, and Texas Tech has a loaded roster to compete with the best in the country. In my opinion, this is a top 10 roster in America, and a team that I think a lot of people are going to project to at least make the second weekend, if not the third weekend, i.e. the Final Four up in Indianapolis. And it would not shock me at all if some people in the national media are picking the Red Raiders to cut down the nets with arguably the best duo in all of college basketball in Christian Anderson and JT Toppin. All right, that's going to do it for today's video. Appreciate y'all tuning in. If you haven't already, be sure to like the video and hit that subscribe button. I can't make it any more free for you guys, and I know that 47% of y'all that watch these videos don't subscribe. Basketball season's here. We're giving you football content as well. This is the time to join the RBR squad. I'm telling you right now, daily 100% free videos surrounding your Red Raiders on the gridiron, hardwood, transfer portal, high school recruiting, and any other breaking news surrounding Texas Tech football and men's basketball. We've got you covered right here on the largest group of Texas Tech fans on YouTube in the Red and Black Report. All right, that's going to do it for today's video. I'm RC Maxfield reminding you, as always, stay safe and Reckham Tech.